Booktube, Sarah here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with a weekly reads for May the 18th through the 24th. So, take two. I recorded the introduction and realized that I completely forgot to hit the record button. Happy Friday, everybody. Because I do film these, as you guys know, on Friday night. So, my weekly reads videos, I talk about all the books that I finished this week, and this might be a longer video, you guys. Grab a seat, get your beverage of choice. Mine for this video is from McDonald's. They are the smoothies. This is the mango pineapple, I think it's the mango pineapple smoothie. They're all yummy, so I had to get one of those. I had originally stopped at McDonald's because last Saturday when my husband and I went grocery shopping, I stopped at McDonald's in Walmart, and they had these slushies, these Minute Maid slushies, and it was so good. I don't know what it is, but I love slushies, and I got the blueberry one, or the blue raspberry one, and it was really good. So anyway, last night on my way home from work, I really wanted another one, so I stopped at the McDonald's that's right by my work. They don't have them. So then tonight I stopped by the one closer to our apartment, like the full-size McDonald's, and they didn't have them either. So I don't know if they're test marketing them in the smaller Walmarts or what have you, but it was really disappointing. So I'm really looking forward now to going grocery shopping tomorrow so I can get my slushie. But anyway, 9 books I finished this week, you guys. Can you tell we're getting closer to the end of the month? And so I have a lot of books to talk to you guys about. Other things that I talk about in these videos are, of course, what I'm currently reading. I have a little bigger book haul. I bought a bunch of ebooks this week, so that's exciting. And I have some of my crafting to show you guys. I did get something finished this week, so that's exciting to show you. And what else? Life stuff, pretty much. Life stuff real quick. I'll get into more of it towards the end, but very quickly, I want to thank all you guys so much for your kind words about my dad. We are hoping to get good news at the end of next week. He had another test today. Today was a CT scan, I think. But yeah, so fingers crossed, toes crossed, you know, that it's whatever it happens to be, we can get a positive spin on it and it'll be okay. Essentially, it'll be okay. But yeah, so, you know, maybe next week more news. I don't know when they see the oncologist. I'll have to talk to my mom on Sunday and find out. But yeah, so I'm also trying something new. Because when I edit these videos, I notice, and I know you guys notice too, that I tend to look over here because that's where the video is, because I'm filming this on my phone. So I've taken a little sticky and I've stuck it over, like not over, but right on top of the camera lens so I know where to look. So let's hope that this works better because I want to be talking directly to you guys. So I apologize. We will get there. I know it's a horrible habit of mine. I realize that. I noticed it myself. So, you know, but I'm hoping that by doing this, it will. I actually thought if this doesn't work, I might just completely black the screen. Like, not black the screen out, but put like a complete sticky over it so I can't even look at that. Do you know what I mean? Just to train myself on where to look. So let's get into all the books that I finished this week, you guys. So the first book that I finished was Claudia and the Great Search by Ann M. Martin. This is, of course, a middle grade fiction novel. It is book number 33 in the Babysitters Club series, originally published in 2019. No, it was not published in 2019. 1990. A little bit of a difference there, guys. Average rating of 3.61 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 3 stars. It was average. It wasn't one of my favorites in the series, wasn't one of my least favorites in the series. In this story, essentially, Claudia is looking after Emily Michelle, which is Christy's mom and stepdad's adopted baby girl from Vietnam. And Emily Michelle is only 2, so Claudia is trying to teach her enough to get her admitted into preschool because she is, of course, behind where she should be for her age. And around the same time, Claudia decides that she is adopted. So, of course, instead of just coming out and asking her mom and dad, she just starts to believe all these things and starts, like, searching and trying to figure it all out. You know, if she just asked, this would have been a very short book, let's put it that way. But, you know, I mean, it was entertaining, and I think the part that I liked the most in the entire thing was why there were no baby pictures of Claudia, if that makes sense. like why there were very few, essentially. And I remember the explanation being, yeah, that makes sense. And for those of you who are curious, essentially, it's because she was the second baby. And anybody who has any kids, I know my mother attested to this as well. If you look at the baby pictures, there tend to be a lot more of me than my brother, mainly because, you know, baby number 1 is like, oh my gosh, a baby, how exciting, we must document all the things. Baby number 2 comes along and you're like, yeah, been there, done that. Not that you don't care about your second child any less, but you're so busy with one baby and now you've got baby number 2 as well, right? So anyway, that's the reasoning, in case, like I said, you guys were curious. So yeah, I mean, enjoyable enough in the series. I will continue on, of course. The next book that I finished, oh gosh, I loved this one so much, you guys, was Wicked and the Wallflower by Sarah MacLean. This is, of course, a historical romance novel. It is book number 1 in the Bare-Knuckled Bastard series, originally published in 2018. The new book in the series, the next book, actually comes out late June, I think. It's sometime in June, in case you are interested. 4.02 stars on Goodreads, guys. I gave it 4.5 stars. I read this one for Romanceopoly. I don't remember what category I read it for. I should have maybe written that down. But yeah, I did read this one for Romanceopoly. And I read this one for the second mystery challenge. They do 3 mystery challenges in the year. And the second one was to read a Wallflower romance. And I was going to read that book in June, like pick a book in June to read. And then I realized, I mean, this book is titled Wicked and the Wallflower. I mean, of course it's going to be a Wallflower story. And oh my gosh, where's the book? I don't know where I put it. I have a physical copy of the book to show you guys. And I can't remember where I put it. Oh! You know, I put things away for safekeeping, and I can't even remember that I do it. So here's the book, Wicked and the Wallflower. Like I said, I absolutely loved this story. So the premise of this story, the premise of the series is about 4 siblings. Now the brothers, the 3 brothers are actual siblings. They all share the same father, but they all have different mothers. And it just so happens they were all born on the same day, at the same time, in different locations. And none of them are the true heirs to their father's estate. Their father was a duke. So essentially, when they became like 10 or 12 years old, the father came and collected them all, like they were in orphanages or what have you all over London. And he collected them and brought them back to his estate in the country and literally had them fight it out for the dukedom, for whoever would win. So of course there's animosity now between the 2 brothers, Devil, which is our main character in this book, Wit, who is the guy in the second book, and Ewan, which is the guy who actually won the earldom, or the dukedom, excuse me, not the earldom, the dukedom. Just a funny word. Is that an actual word? I don't know. Anyway, so the brother who won has kind of gone into hiding, and the other 2 brothers ended up living in Covent Garden. And they actually started a smuggling business, and they're doing extremely well for themselves. They are very, very, like, beyond wealthy. But they're still, of course, not accepted into polite society. So they meet, or Devil meets Felicity. His real name is Devon, but he of course goes by Devil. He meets Felicity, and Felicity is a wallflower. She had a little scandal that happened a couple years ago, and she is now also no longer accepted within polite society. I mean, she's accepted, she goes to the balls and things like that, but she's pretty much been snubbed by all of her friends, who are now married and things like that. And her and Devil meet by chance. And he finds out that she's got her eyes set on the Duke because her family has no money. So she essentially has to marry very well to save her family. And, you know, the story kind of goes from there of the 2 of them. So he kind of agrees to help her, when in reality, underhandedly, he's helping himself. But over the course of it, they fall for each other. And it's a lovely, lovely story. I loved both of the characters so much. What I love about Sarah MacLean, she reminds me in a way of Julia Quinn, because she has this great humor. Her characters just have such great humor. Her mother, Felicity's mother, has this set of dogs, like this group of dogs that are just hysterical. And yeah, and I couldn't help reading, like, more so at the beginning of this book. And I'm not saying it's a retelling of a classic fairy tale, because it's not. But I kept having, like, I kept thinking, this is reminding me of a fairy tale in a way at the beginning. And it was Rumpelstiltskin. If you guys know that fairy tale about the girl who has nothing and he comes and he agrees to help her if she helps him, kind of an idea. I mean, it's a classic story. Again, I'm not saying it's a retelling, but it had echoes of that in here, which I thought was really, really lovely. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. If you are a historical romance reader, you need to get your hands on Sarah MacLean's books. You know, start here. The second book, like I said, comes out later in June, so you have time to read this one before the second one comes out. I think you guys will love these. The next book that I finished was Truth or Beard by Penny Reid. This is a contemporary romance novel, book number 1 in the Winston Brothers series. It was narrated on audio by Joy Nash and Chris Brinkley. Published originally in 2015. Average rating of 3.97 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed this one. It was entertaining. It was funny. Didn't love it. I've heard a lot of things about Penny Reid, a lot of things about this series and the series that came before this one, because this is an offshoot of the Knitting in the City series. And what my biggest issue with this book is, it was really slow to get started, very slow. But once it got going, the story got really good. So this is the story of Jess and Dwayne, and they knew each other since they were children, and she actually couldn't stand him, and she has been carrying a torch for his twin brother Beau since they were about 12 years old. She thought Beau just hung the moon, essentially. And then when the story opens, she's at a Halloween party. She hasn't been back in town in a couple years, and she runs into who she thinks is Beau, who takes her behind the curtain in the auditorium, and the two of them get very, very hot and heavy. Well, then she finds out it's actually Dwayne. And now she's got feelings for Dwayne and doesn't know how to deal with it, essentially. The story was cute. I liked it. I will continue on with it. I really liked the writing. I really enjoyed the characters in this book. It was a lot of fun. You know, really, at the end of the day, it was a completely entertaining read. It was nothing that blew me away. I didn't think it was one of the best books ever written. But if you like a good steamy contemporary romance, because this one does get very hot and spicy, absolutely recommend it. I do want to go and, like I said, I want to finish this series. And I would also like to go ahead and read the Knitting in the City series, mainly, well, because now I know this author and I know what she's capable of writing, and that her books are enjoyable. But also, it involves knitting, so I have to I want to go ahead and read those. But yeah, so this one was really enjoyable. This was not on my TBR. This is one of the extra books that I have had on hold at the library for audio that came in. So of course I was able to fit it in, because I do actually have quite a bit of audiobook listening time during the day. I can usually listen to about 3 hours worth of audiobooks in a day, which doesn't, considering the amount of audiobooks I can go through. But of course I speed them up, so it makes it a little bit easier. And I don't actually listen really at work. I listen usually for just the last hour of the day, when it's kind of the busy work at the end of the day. But usually it's just on my commute to and from work. Anyway, the next book that I finished was Wild West Wife by Susan Mallery. This one over here. Sorry, I'm trying to hold two things at once. Sarah is very uncoordinated. A historical romance novel, of course. This is book number 5 in the Montana Mavericks Return to Whitehorn series. Harlequin Historical number 419, originally published in 1998. This was another book in my 40 Years of Harlequin project. Average rating, 3.73 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. And I found out, this book is absolutely available. I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I might have mentioned this in my vlog last weekend, but just in case you didn't see it. This book is available as an ebook. So if you are interested in picking it up and reading it, go ahead. And I also realized that Susan Mallery has written a number of historical romances, and that makes me super happy, because I now want to go and read all of them, because this one was really good. So this is the story of Haley and Jesse. And Haley is a mail order bride. And Jesse has kidnapped her at the very, very beginning of the book. It starts off literally with a bang, in a way. He kidnaps her because the man that she's going to go marry, whose name is Lucas, is actually a very, very bad person, and he killed Jesse's father. And Jesse has kidnapped Haley to kind of get back at Lucas and to try and, confront him, kind of an idea. So the two of them, Haley and Jesse, spend all this time together, kind of out on the road, if you will, or horsebacking and camping out in the Montana, wilderness. And, waiting for Lucas to kind of show his hand, if you will, to try and get her back. And along the way, they have adventures and misadventures. And, of course, the ending with the confrontation with Lucas. Really, really good, because throughout the entire thing, Haley maintains that Lucas is a stand-up guy and Jesse is the outlaw. You know, Jesse is the bad person, where Lucas, you know, is absolutely wonderful, and she's basing all of this off of a single letter that she got from him. So yeah, really, really entertaining. I really enjoyed this one. Absolutely recommend it. The next one that I finished was What the Prince Wants by Jules Bennett. This is a contemporary romance novel, book number 1 in the Royal series. This is Harlequin Desire novel number 2377, and it was narrated on audio by Elizabeth Kelt. Published originally in 2015, average rating of 3.77 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 3 stars. This one was for my Audible, my Audible romance package challenge that I do, where I pull the categories out of the jar during my my TBRs, and this one was for Modern Royal. I mean, I gave it 3 stars. It was enjoyable. It was an atypical contemporary romance kind of an idea, where there is a Greek prince, of course he's a Greek prince, who has moved to California for 6 months to kind of decide, does he want to, what's the word I'm looking for? Give up the throne, or does he want to go back and, you know, kind of be second in command? Because it's actually his brother who is king, and kind of be second in command. And he meets a woman by the name of Darcy, and his name is Mikos, and Darcy is the nanny that he hires, and of course she's beautiful and blah blah blah. She has her own kind of difficult backstory where her grandmother passed, and the nanny agency that she runs was actually run by her grandmother before her passing. And she kind of hooked up with this guy, and this guy took her for everything, like every penny. She's living out of her car at this point. So she needs this money that Mikos is going to pay her for the next 6 months of looking after his 18-month-old daughter, and use it to restart the business, essentially. But of course, the two of them end up falling for each other, and a relationship develops. What I did enjoy about this book, and I do kind of feel the need to point this out because this doesn't happen all the time, it's actually the opposite that happens 99% of the time, is the fact that Darcy is unable to have children due to a medical condition, like a female medical condition, without getting, you know, too much into it. And I thought, as soon as they mentioned it, I thought, she's going to be pregnant by the end of the gosh darn book. I guarantee it. And she wasn't. They agreed, that, you know, I'm not going to give away too much of the ending, but you kind of know. I've always said this about romance novels. The couple that meets on page 1 is the couple that's going to be together at the end of the book. That's usually the way these things work. But they decide to, you know, she decides to adopt his daughter, and, you know, they decide to adopt more children, and I just really like that. And, you know, it's almost bordering on a 3.5 star for me just because of that reason, because it's more realistic. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that sometimes, you know, miracles happen and those who are dealing with infertility can get pregnant. I think that's fantastic. But for someone who can't because of medical reasons, it is refreshing to see that that doesn't have to be the end result. Does that make sense? So yeah, so I really, really did enjoy this one. The next book that I finished was A Creed Country Christmas by Linda Lael Miller. This was a historical romance novel. Book number 4 in the Montana Creed series, which is one of the series I am reading through for my Stacking the Series challenge this year. Originally published in 2009. Average rating of 4.12 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. This one was really adorable, and I'm sorry I don't have a physical copy of it, but the library wanted it back. So I had to return it, because I am already incurring some fines for another book that I've got outstanding that I haven't gotten to yet, but I will. So this one was the story of Julianne and Lincoln. And essentially, if you read Tyler, Dylan, and Logan, which are the first 3 books in the Montana Creed series, it's about 3 different brothers. They mention, I think it's their great-grandfather, Lincoln, who is the main character of this story. So it's kind of nice to go back and read a family member story. I think that's a really fun premise within a contemporary romance series, to go back to meeting, like, especially when it's a series based around a family, to go back to ancestors of that family. So Lincoln is a decent, you know, well enough to do rancher, and he has a young daughter. His wife passed away a few years earlier. And one day he's in the local shop in town, and runs into Julianne, who is a Indian school teacher, and she has these 4 Indian children with her in tow. The school has closed down and she has no money, but she doesn't want to essentially put these kids out on the street. It's like a week before Christmas. There's a horrible snowstorm. So Lincoln agrees to take them in. And he has been looking for a governess or a nanny or somebody to look after his daughter. Worst case scenario, he said, he will look for a wife. And of course, throughout the course of the story, him and Juliana decide to marry for sake of convenience. She can kind of look after his daughter. He can give some of these children, these Indian children, a home. The older two are going to go back to their family in North Dakota, which was the plan originally if Juliana could get the money together for a, I almost said a bus ticket. No, not in not in 1910. It would have been a train ticket to take them to North Dakota. And, and then adopt the other children, the younger children. And yeah, it was a really, really sweet story. Now, sorry, all that being said, this is not a very long book. I think it came in. Now, I read a hardcover edition. I wish I still had it to show you guys. But it's one of those, like it's like this size. Do you know what I mean? Of a hardcover novel. And it comes in at like 250 plus pages. But it's not a long book. This was actually included as part of an anthology for another novel. So this, I would almost consider it, if it was in normal print, like in a mass market paperback, I would say it would probably come in around 150 pages. So it's not terribly long, but it was really enjoyable. A great Christmas story. I mean, yes, it's May and I'm reading a Christmas book, but it was a very, very sweet Christmas story. If you kind of like that whole Western Christmas kind of an idea, I recommend that you put this one maybe on your Christmas list to read this year, like on your to read at the holidays, because it was really, really enjoyable. Just 3 more to talk about, you guys. And the next book that I finished was Pipe Dreams by Sarina Bowen. This is another contemporary romance novel. It's book number 3 in the Brooklyn Bruisers series. Narrated on audio by Nicole Zanzarella and Rock Engel. Originally published in 2017. Average rating of 3.98 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. This is the, of course, next book in the Brooklyn Bruisers series, which is a series about a fictional NHL team that resides in Brooklyn. There is no actual, I know I've asked this before, there's no actual hockey team in Brooklyn, right, Gare?
Yeah.
Is there an actual NHL hockey team in Brooklyn?
Islanders moved to Brooklyn.
Oh, the Islanders moved to Brooklyn. So is that recent? Fairly? Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. He's playing, I think he's playing World of Warcraft or deciding what he's going to purchase on Amazon. He's busy. So anyway, it's a fictional NHL team. And what I like about this, and I always get a laugh out of it, but as Garrett explained the last time I read one of these books, is that if they use the actual NHL team names, I think it's like a licensing thing. So they will say they're playing Toronto, or they're playing Tampa, or they're playing Montreal. Like, they won't say, like, they're playing the Leafs, or what have you. But yeah, so that part of it's kind of funny. But if you are a hockey fan, you will definitely like these books. There are a lot of scenes that, I mean, Sarina Bowen must really enjoy hockey, because there are a lot of scenes that are, like, really hockey focused on the games themselves. And she knows, the plays, and she knows the terminology, and, things like that, right? I mean, she could have very well done research, but I think to write about a subject like this and to do an entire series on it, you really have to love the sport, if that makes sense. Like, I am never going to write a series about hockey because hockey is not my favorite sport. It's baseball for me, actually, which I'm sure you guys all know. Go Red Sox. So, let me tell you what the story is about. Sorry, I'm tripping over my own words here. This is the story of Lauren and Mike. And Mike's backstory is that when he first got drafted, in high school, he had his high school girlfriend. And she got pregnant when they were 18, and they got married. And then they had their daughter, the daughter is so much fun. She's 13 years old in this book. And she is so sassy and so spunky and such a typical 13-year-old girl. I absolutely loved her. And, him and his wife, she kind of, as he started to get bigger and bigger within the NHL, she, of course, followed him, and, he was starting to make a lot of money. And then he joined the Brooklyn Bruisers. So, this was, going back, 8 years. And he met Lauren. And Lauren started working there because her father used to own the team. And so she kind of was working in the front office. And the two of them would talk all the time and not really flirt, but, they were friendly with each other. Nothing ever happened. And then one day he comes home, 2 years prior to this story starting, and finds his wife screwing, literally, The tennis instructor, atypical. And of course, he packs his bags and leaves. They file for divorce. And then very soon after he leaves his wife, he starts up a relationship with Lauren. And they are in this relationship for about 1.5 years. And then all of a sudden he breaks it off with her. I'm not going to tell you why, because that's revealed as you read the book. But it was heartbreaking, and you kind of see where Mike is coming from. But you also see it from Lauren's perspective, because she doesn't understand why. Like, he never explains to her why this is going on. So now she's back because Rebecca, who is now doing the job that Lauren used to do, she fell on the ice in the last book and she injured herself quite a lot. Like, she hit her head. And so they brought her in for the playoffs so that they've got, like, this person. So, of course, now she's coming into contact with Mike again. And the story will go from there. This book gets very, very, very hot and spicy. Sarina Bowen is kind of known for that. And yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable. But the one thing I wanted to mention, and I made a little notation here, because I didn't want to forget to talk about this, and you guys are going to laugh. But throughout the course of the book, of course, Lauren and Mike's daughter, Elsa, the daughter's name is Elsa, don't really get along. Because Elsa's like, she doesn't understand. You know, Mike was, you know, her dad was dating this woman right after stuff happened with her mom. And, you know, of course she resents Lauren in a way. And there's this very touching scene toward the end of the book. And I think all you females out there watching will totally appreciate this. Poor little Elsa, at the age of 13, got her first period. And she was locked in the bathroom crying because she didn't know what was going on. She didn't have her mother there. And her and Lauren bonded over this in a way. And I don't know why. It was such... In a way, it was a very pivotal scene in the book because it shows the relationship between Lauren and Elsa. But on the other hand, it was almost like a throwaway scene in a bit. Like, it didn't last very long. It wasn't, you know, this huge, but it really stuck out at me as being a really great moment between these two characters. And I really, really liked it. You know, any woman or girl who has been through that kind of a traumatic first experience in that case can completely appreciate it, I think. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that one. I'm really enjoying this series. There are 2 more books in the series. I don't know if she's writing any more, but if you're I'm not even a hockey fan and I like these books, so that should tell you something. The next one that I finished was Pregnant by the Colton Cowboy by Lacombe. This is a romantic suspense novel. It is The Coltons of Shadow Creek #3. This is another one that I am currently reading for the Stacking the Series Challenge. Harlequin, excuse me, I've got the hiccups. Harlequin romantic suspense novel number 1944. This was published originally in 2017. Average rating on Goodreads of 4.35 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars. This was enjoyable. I think I liked it a bit more than the last book in the series. So this is the story of Maggie and Thorne. I have to admit, don't like his name. They've kind of always had like eyes for each other. He works on his father's ranch, and she does the books for his father's ranch. So she comes in about once a month and does all of his bookkeeping and things like that. So the premise of the Coltons of Shadow Creek series is that I think there's six books in the series, and one is about each of the kids. So these kids all share the same mother, but they have different dads. I can't remember whether like 2 or 3 of the siblings share the same father. I don't think all 6 kids have 6 different fathers, but Thorne definitely has a different father. I know that like he's the only one who has Mac as a father, and Mac, that's the guy's name. And their mother, Olivia, she was in prison for murder, and she has now escaped prison. So that's where this series started 3 books ago. So the overarching plot of this series is them trying to figure out where the mother is and essentially get her back in jail. And so anyway, Thorne and Maggie have kind of had this eyes for each other. And then one day there's this horrible storm, and they end up taking refuge in his apartment, and one thing leads to another. 3 months later, they've kind of been ignoring each other because Thorne doesn't know exactly how to handle this whole relationship. He's trying to keep her safe, and knowing his mother is out of prison, he doesn't want to put her in harm's way in case the mother comes after him. And then there's an explosion. Something happens on the ranch, and that's when they find out that she's pregnant. So now he's kind of vowing to take care of her. And of course, the relationship will go from there, along with what is happening on the ranch. It's pretty obvious from the beginning who the bad guy is, but it was still a really, really entertaining read. Lots of action. I really liked the relationship between Thorne and Maggie. I thought that they were really, really cute together. And this was a really fun entry in the series. And the last book that I read this week, you guys, unfortunately was my least favorite book of the week. And that was The Color of Heaven by Julianne MacLean. This is a contemporary fiction novel. It is listed on Goodreads as a romance. I don't really see the romance in there. There were romantic elements within the story, but it wasn't a romance, if you will. Book number 1 in the Color of Heaven series. Published originally in 2011. I did listen to this one on audio. I did not have that written down. Jennifer O'Donnell, I think, narrated it. If I'm incorrect, I will write it down right here for you guys. Average rating of 4.04 stars on Goodreads. I only gave it 3 stars, so obviously I'm the minority. My biggest issue with this book was for about the first half, at least, maybe more of the book, and even throughout the rest of the story, is that the narrative in this book, and I'm not talking about the narration, this had nothing to do with the audiobook, this was the narrative of the story, read to me like a grocery list. And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was no flow to the story. It's like it's told in first person of our main character, Sophie. And it talks about, you know, her growing up and her mother leaving them. And then she ends up, her daughter suffers a terrible illness. And then she ends up crashing her car into a lake and nearly dies. And then it's the narrative of what, I don't want to give anything away, but it's the narrative of what kind of happens after that. And it's told from both her perspective in first person and her mother's perspective in first person. And the mother's part, I think, was more story-like, had more of a story narrative, whereas Sophie's part of it was just very, and then this happened, and then this happened, and it was really off-putting. The other thing was, there were 55 chapters in this book, guys. It's a 250-page book. Like, 50... Some of the chapters, you'd get, like, I'm not even exaggerating, you'd get maybe 5 or 6 sentences, and then it would be chapter 4. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Like, it didn't flow well. I think that was my biggest thing. Plus, because I think you find this a lot when it's in first person, you don't find out a lot about the characters. And I just didn't care about Sophie. I'm sorry. I know that sounds horrible because she went through some very horrible things, but I just didn't like her. You know, this book has very high ratings on Goodreads. I was looking through the reviews on Goodreads after I'd read this, and people are like saying this is like one of the best books they've ever read. And yes, it's very eye-opening. It really makes you think about your life. I'm not giving that away from it. That's why I gave it 3 stars. But the writing itself, or the way the story was told, I just didn't like it. It didn't sit well with me. And if I wasn't listening to it on audio, and if the audiobook wasn't only 7 hours long, which means I finished it essentially in 3 hours or something like that. I essentially, it was a trip to work and back, and then listening to it for an hour today at work. I wouldn't have, I would have DNF'd it probably, just because the beginning of it was just so, especially the beginning, I found very, very difficult to read. So anyway, guys, that is all that I have for currently reading, or for what I read this week. And now on to currently reading. So, the first book I just started on the way home from work today is my latest audiobook, and that is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This is the first book in the Maybe series. So far, I'm enjoying it. It is about a girl by the name of Sydney who, on her birthday, poor thing, finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her with her best friend / roommate. That's always fun. And the story's kind of going from there. At the very beginning, you get the flashback to 2 weeks earlier, and then how all this kind of comes into play. So, like I said, I just started listening to it on the way home from work today. I'm only maybe 14 or 15% of the way through it. I'll definitely get this one done over the weekend, but so far I am actually quite enjoying it. This is my first Colleen Hoover, so that's pretty exciting. And speaking about firsts of books that I'm reading, the other book that I'm currently reading is A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I am that far into it, so there's the beginning of the book. I'm about 130 pages into this. I am, of course, reading it on hardback. This was a bit of a pain to be taking to work and back today, let me tell you. As you can see, I do have marks there, like stickies. That's how far I want to get that's how far I want to get tomorrow and Sunday and then Monday, blah, blah, blah. So I can get this done in a timely manner. I don't know what I think about this yet. I haven't decided. I'm 130 pages in and I haven't decided. The problem is, because this book is so beloved throughout all of BookTube. And everybody, okay, I can't even say everybody but me anymore, because a lot of people, when I mentioned this in my TBR last month, came out saying, no, 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 I haven't read it either. So, you know, I'm not the only one. I'm not into fantasy. I'm just not a fantasy reader. But I am enjoying it because it's engaging. Is this something that I would definitely want to run out and pick up book number 2 next? Probably not. But for what it is right now, it's kind of a nice departure. Now, I had an issue at the beginning. For those of you who have read it, you know, she, you know, I mean, and I get she's doing it for food, but she kills 2 animals, and it just... Bambi. It was Bambi. You killed Bambi. And it's just, I don't know. And I've also heard, because of course this is talked about so much on BookTube, that this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And yeah, sure, I can kind of see it right now, but I don't know. I don't know. I appreciate the world building. I don't much care for our main character. What's her name? Freya? I don't much care for her right now. So I don't know. I don't know. I'll give more of my thoughts next week, but yeah, I am this is a beautiful edition. Don't get me wrong. This is a lovely book. And I'm not disliking it. I mean, I got 130 pages through this today already. Like, obviously it's engaging me enough to want to continue reading it, but I don't know if it's ever going to end up, I don't know if it'll end up as like a favorite or anything like that. So we shall see. I will report back, of course. The next book that I am currently reading, His Bodyguard by Lois Greeman. This is cute. So this is a love and laughter book. It is a... this is part of my 40 Years of Harlequin project. This is my 1999 book, A Love and Laughter. And essentially this is about a guy who's a country musician. And he plays in a country band. And he is receiving, like, these letters that are, like, threatening. So his manager's like, you need to hire a bodyguard. So he thinks, you know, the manager's kind of blowing things out of proportion. So the manager has all these people come in for an interview. And this woman here, her name is Brianna. She shows up for the interview and lies about it because her boss that she works for at a security company, she's just she is the receptionist. And the boss keeps telling her, yes, sweetheart, we will put you out on the field one day. Go make me a cup of coffee. That kind of an idea. So she decides to, when she gets the call in, you know, for them looking for somebody from his security company, she fibs and she goes in. And of course what's his name? Nathan takes one look at her and says, she's hired. So he's, though, as enjoyable as this is, it's got its funny moments so far. I'm not terribly far into it yet, but it's not a terribly long book. He's coming off as a real chauvinist pig. I hate to say it. I'm hoping he redeems himself throughout the book, but as of right now, and I'm not very far into this. I'm about 40 pages into it. He's a bit of a chauvinist pig, so we shall see how that ends up working out. And the last thing I'm reading, just came in from the library yesterday, is Marianne and Too Many Boys by Ann M. Martin. This is book number 34 in the Babysitters Club series. Stacy and Marianne head off to Sea City. It's the summertime. They're babysitting the Pike kids. Like, their mother's helpers. They didn't take the kids on vacation and leave the parents at home. They're essentially mother's helpers, and, you know, the story will go from there. I am only, like, 30% of the way through this so far. I mean, these are quick reads. I could sit down and finish these in a little over an hour, but I like to space them out through the week. And yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So anyway, guys, that is it for what I'm reading, what I've read, and what I'm currently reading. Let's jump into that little big book haul, along with talking about my next 4 Years of Harlequin project books. So let's jump into that. So before we get into my ebook haul, let's open the next 40 Years of Harlequin book. This is from the year 2000, you guys. 2000, I can't believe it. Holy cow. So, a bit of a thicker one, it looks like here. So let's see what we got. Yay! It's a Harlequin Duets novel, you guys. Yay! I talked about this one last week, or this series last week, when I opened up the Love and Laughter book. Because this series, I believe, replaced the Love and Laughter series. So the Love and Laughter series, of course, is a romantic comedy imprint from Harlequin. Then it was replaced by the duets. The duets are actually 2 books in one. So these are 2 full-length novels in one book. I will read both of these, but I only count it as one because they are not published. They were not published individually. Now, speaking about that, I'm going to mention something in my book haul, because some of the bigger name authors like Jill Shalvis wrote quite a number of stories for this duets line or imprint. And they are now being republished as ebooks, but as individual stories, as opposed to being published in this bind-up like this. So these stories are, this is Harlequin Duets number 33 from August of 2000. And the 2 books are The Sheriff and the Email Bride by Liz Ireland. I mean, Email Bride, it's 1990, that's adorable. And Stray Hearts by Jane Sullivan. So these sound really good. So let me read the back here for you guys. The Sheriff and the Email Bride. Does Heartbreak Ridge have a romantic curse? No way, says Sheriff Sam Weston. But he isn't taking chances. Online, he rounds himself up a lady far from his hometown. The lonesome lawman thinks he's found himself a foolproof courting method until Shelby, his cyber fiancée, arrives 8 months pregnant. Well, what did you send through email there, bud? Now it looks as if the town's curse may strike again if Shelby can't win Sam over, and soon. That sounds adorable. And then the second one is, there's a sticker over it. Kay Ramsey believes her ex-fiancé deserved to pay for cheating on her, so she shaved his prize-winning Cocker Spaniels. Sorry. Her punishment? 100 hours of community service at the local animal shelter. Oh, I love it. Scared silly of 4-legged furry animals, Kay knew she wouldn't be able to stick out her sentence until she saw veterinarian Matt Forrester. 100 hours wouldn't be nearly long enough. That sounds adorable. Oh my god. Why would you shave poor dogs? Why are you punishing the dogs for what your ex did? Like, seriously. But yeah, sounds adorable. I cannot wait to read these ones. Oh, that's going to be so much fun. Okay, so, onto the book haul. I have 11 ebooks and 1 print book that I bought this week. Garrett kind of gave me the what for because he was looking at the bank account and he's like, slow it down on the Amazon purchases. Because in Canada, now Garrett told me that you can add books to your cart, ebooks to your cart on Amazon, but I can't figure out how to do that. I don't know. So anyway, I kind of just hit the buy now button, and that button's very, very dangerous. So, here are the books that I purchased. The first one is Get a Clue by Jill Shalvis. This is, I don't know a lot about these books. I'm just going to kind of put the picture up here and let you guys go. I'll list them all in the description box below, of course, if you guys want to go check them out yourself. But yeah, this is an older Jill Shalvis. Looks like fun. My Kind of Forever by Tracy Brogan. This is book number 2 in the Trillium Bay series. All these were either $2 or less on Amazon. So just an FYI. 3 Little Words by Jenny Holiday. This is Bridesmaids Behaving Badly, book number 3. I've heard a lot about this series. It sounds absolutely adorable. I love that cover. I'm looking forward to that one a lot. I've got the hiccups, excuse me. Feels Like Home by Olivia Miles is the next one. Book number 1 in the Oyster Bay series. Another small town contemporary romance. You guys know how much I love those. Nora's Guy Next Door by Jen McNally. This is book number 2 in the Lowry Women's series. This is a Harlequin special edition, not special edition, super romance novel. And from the looks of the cover and from reading the back of it, this is a story about a couple who is older. Our female lead, Nora, has grown children, like she's about to become a grandmother. I kind of really like that, and I'm super interested in reading it. The Night Before Christmas by Kelly Hunter. This is a Harlequin Kiss novel from the Kiss imprint. This is actually only, though, a novella. It's 0.5 in the West's series. So I think this one was like 99 cents, so I decided to pick it up. Driven to Distraction. There was a bunch of books that were first in series that were on sale. I don't know if they still are, so maybe go check Amazon if you're interested. But Driven to Distraction by Laurie Foster, book number 1 in the Road to Love series. I have no idea what drew my eyes to that cover at all. Next one, Against the Wind by Kat Martin, book number 1 in the Rains of Wind Canyon series. This one sounds good. Haunted by Heather Graham, the first book in the Harrison's Investigation series. I've read this book. I read this book close to 10 years ago, it's got to be, and I lent my physical copy of it to a friend. I have yet to talk to that friend ever again. So I saw this for less than $2, so I decided to pick it up. Thought it'd be fun to reread. Blind Date Disasters by Jill Shalvis. Remember I was mentioning the duets? this is one that was in one of the duets novels. So this is one of the stories, and it's a Jill Shalvis. You know it's going to be good. And the last one for ebooks that I got was Redemption at Hawk's Landing by Rita Heron, book number 1 in the Badge of Justice series. So that one looked really good. It's, I believe, an intrigue novel. And Rita Heron does some great work for the intrigue. Sorry for shaking the camera. And the other book that I bought that was physical, I have been looking to get my hands on this book forever, or it feels like forever. I think I mentioned it in my anticipated reads for the month of May. And I was going to pre-order it, and then I changed my mind because I thought I want to wait to see if I see it at Walmart for like 40% off. It has not been at Walmart, but yet Garrett was looking at something online, and it's on the New York Times bestseller list. But yet it has not appeared in Walmart. Watch, it'll be there tomorrow when I show up. But regardless, I got The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I cannot wait to read this one. This is so going on for my summer romance book bingo. It will not be read in June, as my June TBR has already been put together. This will be going for July, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the one for a book set at the beach, because that is on my that's on my bingo card, because this takes place in Hawaii. I cannot wait to read this. I've heard such good things about it. It looks like it'll be a really quick read. I mean, look at that, the font and the margins in this one. But this will be such a great summer read. I cannot wait to read this one. So that is all that I really have for books this week, you guys. Let me quickly show you my crafting. I do not have a lot, excuse me for reaching. I do not have a lot of crafting to show you guys. I'm actually not even going to show you my knitting, because I got only a couple more inches done on my hat, and I really didn't pick up any of my knitting, because I have been solely focused on my cross stitch this week, you guys. Like, totally focused on my cross stitch, because I finished the cross stitch, the one cross stitch picture. I'm so excited. So here it is. I love this. I am so beyond thrilled with it. There it is in bulk. Isn't that gorgeous? Guys, the candle. Like, come on. I said this, did I show this in my whatchamacallit from last week, in my vlog from last week? I can't remember. Like I said in that vlog, I think I did. Yes, I stitched this, but that is purely the designer, the person who designed this pattern. That candle is just stunning. And I mean the rest of it. So there's some, I don't want to use my middle finger to point at stuff. Sorry guys. That crystal right there, I mean that's got back stitching on it. There's a little bit of back stitching here as well. But I am so thrilled with this. I think it's so pretty. I just love it. I absolutely love it. So this is kind of where my where what I've been wanting to do, my crafting wise, has been falling over the last like few weeks, and that's okay. Sometimes you just need a little change, you know, to make things, you know, interesting. You know, I think mainly because I finished that sweater, I kind of like needed a break from the knitting for a few weeks. So I know this weekend I'm not really feeling picking up the knitting either, so I'm probably just going to work on some more cross stitch. But right now, I'll show you, there's not much to show you guys. But I am, sorry, I'm trying to reclose this little baggie. I have started, I will put the pattern picture up here of what I'm doing for Garrett. This is another one for the World of Warcraft, and that's as far as I am, you guys. Not terribly interesting at all, right? Just a little something. But yeah, I've started this picture for Garrett, so of course I will probably have more of that to show you on next week. So, real life stuff. Work has just been work. We were off on Monday for Victoria Day, which was really nice. It was nice having that extra day off. Coming back was difficult because, of course, I do handle customer service for the U.S. market. So, regardless if I was there or not, the emails kept flying in, and you know, I had a bit of catching up to do this week, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. And then I was hoping that by like yesterday, today, things would start to slow down, because Monday is Memorial Day in the States. But no, everybody was working up till 5 o'clock on Friday. Although I do have to admit, by like noon today, I was starting to get a lot of out of offices for people, for my reps and stuff like that. So that was okay. And Monday will be very quiet for me, which was going to be super nice. In years past, I used to work from home on the American holidays, the Memorial Day, the 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. I would work from home because it was usually, if we got a phone call, it would be one. We'd get 1 or 2 emails, you know, a couple orders would come in. I could absolutely work from home and it wasn't a big deal. But unfortunately, I can no longer do that because I have been given a new task at work. I didn't talk about this. I don't mind helping out. That's not the issue. I am happy to help out any way that I can. But it's taking me away from what I'm normally doing, and we have been told that the accounts that I have, like I have a lot of accounts, and so does my other coworker Nicole, and they're just not, and then there's a third woman. They're not evenly distributed. I'll put it that way. And I was kind of told that, you know, if you're going to take this on, we are going to redistribute the accounts, so you might not have nearly as much on your plate. That hasn't happened yet, so I'm a little perturbed about that. But again, I don't mind doing what I'm doing, and that is I'm filling in for reception. We have our receptionist at the office, and I cover both of her morning, like her morning and her afternoon break and her lunch. I could take my laptop down and work at her desk through lunch, and I've tried that, but it's hard because you need to be front-facing of the company. You know, I can't be in the middle of an email and, you know, be totally engrossed in that, whatever it is that I'm looking at, to realize a customer has come in. Does that make sense? Or that, not that we get a lot of people coming into the building, but it does happen quite often. No, not quite often. I mean, over a lunchtime, I might get one or two, or a phone call. You know, I'm trying to concentrate on whatever the task it is that I'm doing, to the phone constantly be ringing. And it does. I mean, there are times where you'll get 5 or 10 phone calls in a row, and you're literally transferring somebody and another call is coming in. So, I mean, it can get very busy on the front desk. So it's not really attuned to sitting there and being able to do other things. So for that reason, I'm a little bit annoyed. And I've decided to give it a couple weeks. If stuff doesn't change by mid-June, if these accounts haven't been moved around, then I'm going to have to mention it to my manager. Because she gave permission to take me. Because essentially, this is a job that should be handled by the Canadian customer service team. But they are also understaffed, like everybody else. And, you know, they brought me in to help. And again, I'm happy to help. I will help all day long. But when my customers start getting upset because I can't answer them in a timely manner, now it starts to affect me. Does that make sense? So anyway, sorry about griping about work, but you know, that's what we're here for, right? So yes, I'm a little annoyed about that, but we shall see where it takes me. You know, I kind of fancied for a little bit, you know, trying to find another job, but right now with what I'm dealing with Dad and that giant unknown, I don't want to add switching jobs into the mix. Does that make sense? I kind of want to keep something consistent because I don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, if I've been with the company for 5 years now, if I have to take an afternoon off to take him to an appointment or something of that nature, then I want to be able to do that. You can't necessarily do that with a brand new job when you're the newbie in the door. Do you know what I mean? Besides, at the end of the day, I like the company. It's a good company. I like the people that I work with. Sorry guys, it's really windy outside. I'm just kind of annoyed at what's going on right now. And I think we just need to get over this hump and I need to be patient. Patience is a virtue and I do not have it most of the time. Other things this weekend, nothing terribly interesting. I plan on having a very relaxing weekend. I have no plans for tomorrow other than going grocery shopping and getting my slushy. And then on Sunday, of course, bingo with my mom. But, yeah, that's pretty much about it, you guys. Pretty boring, you know me. I had a viewer ask in one of my videos, I think it was my last weekly reads, or, oh, no, it was my April wrap-up. She's like, how do you read so much? I'm like, I have no life. This is it, you guys. This is it. Reading, crafting, going to work, spending time with my hubby. Not always in that order, you know what I mean. But anyway, guys, I will let you go. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, videos coming up next week. I always forget to tell you guys. So on Tuesday, we have the Harlequin anticipated reads for the month of June are coming out. And as well as my June TBR, you guys. Yay! TBR time! So that will be coming up on Thursday. Until my next video, like I already said, thank you guys so very much for watching. Take care and happy reading. Bye, guys.